Let's talk about JFK and the economy. First thing we should do is pause our video and go read pages 866 to 867, The Congressional Obstacle. It's not really that long. I'll wait. Okay, glad you're back. Kennedy is focused on the economy from the time he takes office. It was a major part of his campaign, and it's going to be a major focus for his administration. During Eisenhower's time in office, economic growth had slowed down and unemployment was on the rise. So in his election, Kennedy had promised to address the economy. And he had said in his campaign that he wanted to beat the Soviet Union economically. So there's a real debate as to how to improve the American economy by 1961 when Kennedy takes office. Some experts suggest the old New Deal method of public works. Congress, however, was leery about spending more. Congress doesn't like this idea. Kennedy chooses to go with modernizing the U.S. economy, increasing support for manpower training so people can work the new, more advanced jobs, and area redevelopment. So take areas that were for old industries or not used for industry and make them part of the newer high-tech industries. And this is, for the most part, successful. But the real growth comes from more money being spent on defense and space exploration. Although you could probably say that's all part of defense spending because the rockets that took astronauts to the moon were the same types of rockets that would have delivered nuclear warheads to the other side of the Earth and blown up the Soviet Union. It's all spending for the military. By 1962, military spending had grown to the point where it was more than half of the federal budget. And with this increased spending, we see certain industries really benefiting. The growing aircraft industry and the growing computer industry. And these are mainly located in the South and out West, really benefit. They're getting a lot of these government tax dollars being spent on military spending in the early 1960s. However, older industrial zones like New England and Midwestern cities like Cleveland and Youngstown and Gary, Indiana and Flint, Michigan are going to see rising unemployment. Kennedy is trying to prevent inflation to protect consumers. As the government is spending more, there's more money being put into circulation, so we got to be on the lookout for inflation. And JFK has a bit of a spat with U.S. Steel, one of the largest companies in America. Kennedy intervenes and prevents a strike by persuading the Steelworkers Union to accept a cheaper contract, to accept lower pay than what they wanted. And as soon as Kennedy does that, U.S. Steel turns around and tries to raise prices. Kennedy had intervened in part to prevent prices from going up, but the company tries to raise prices anyway, despite getting their workers to take less pay. Kennedy's furious at this. He threatens to cut off Pentagon steel orders, which would have been a huge hit to U.S. Steel's business. He threatens an antitrust lawsuit against U.S. Steel. And all this forces U.S. Steel to roll their prices back to where they were. Inflation is avoided, but businesses are a little upset at Kennedy for interfering. Kennedy also proposes using a tax cut to help further grow the economy. And this is recommended by his chair of economic advisors, Walter Heller. And what Heller is saying is that if we let Americans keep more of their money, it will stimulate consumer spending and will give our lagging economy a boost. Now, this is pretty unconventional in times of prosperity because it leads to deficits. If government brings in less money, it's going to lead to a deficit. Government spending more than it's bringing in. Nonetheless, it's proposed by Kennedy's administration early in 1963, and it's finally passed in 1964 after he's assassinated. And it really does help the economy grow for the rest of the 1960s. So overall, by 1963 even, The American economy is growing much faster. Unemployment goes down, wages increase, and Kennedy's able to keep the cost of living to stay down. However, and this may sound familiar, corporate profits increased the most. Kennedy's administration did not close the tax loopholes. They did nothing for redistribution of wealth. And businesses are going to continue to not only see their profits rise, but also continue to exploit resources and the environment.